Good morning.
Hi.
Mute.
Can't hear you.
Hi,
There
Dad.
you go. Better.
All right. How are we doing this morning, ladies? How are we feeling? Anything in particular? Sore, tight, stiff? No. Okay. We're gonna go through our normal cars, shoulders, hips, and then knees, ankles. Do you guys ever do pails and rails with Coach Liz? On shoulders? Cool. Okay. We're gonna go through some of that, and then what else do I have on here? Little hip, just a little bit more of a hip opener. So first, let's just start in a pancake position. So getting your legs nice and wide. So for this, I want you to actually get quite wide, or as wide as you can. The biggest thing though I'm looking for though is picking up your butt. So you're sitting directly onto your butt bone. So you're literally lifting it up, sitting it down. And then as we're stretching forward, okay, I want you to think about rotating your hips down. So that's the part. It's not just bringing the chest down. It's actually bringing the hips and trying to rotate them all the way over. I see you, Hannah. All right. So toes up. Okay. And then in terms of thighs, again, I want you to think about rotating inward. Okay. So we're rotating the hips. And then I want you to go as far forward as possible. But it's not about getting the chest as far down as possible. I want you to take your hands and then bring them forward. There you go. Good. So as the minutes go by, or the seconds, it feels like forever. I want you to try to see if you can get a little bit lower every single time. All right, Hannah, we have our legs straight. I want you to think about picking up your butt. So all of the tissue in your booty, so your pelvic or your butt bone is directly onto the ground. And then I want you to think about sending the hips instead of the chest, setting the hips down towards the ground, okay? And then the internal thighs start rotating down as well. And then you can bring your hands out in two ways. You can bring your hands up here instead of trying to bring your chest forward. So you're just trying to your fingers closer and closer away from your body as much, or I guess farther away from your body as possible. So again, as we hold this position, trying to get a little bit lower, maybe every 20, 30 seconds. The other thing I want you to think about is just releasing the tension that you may feel. So if, like, let's say the inside of your thighs, your adductors are a little bit tight, I want you to think instead of keeping that tension, I want you to relax it. And that allows you to soften up a little and getting a little bit lower into the position. Hold this for another 30 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and come out of that. Okay, so we're going to start with the ankles first. Okay, so for the ankles, I want you to go ahead. So two things we're going to do first. We're going to flex and we're going to extend. We're going to go forward and we're going to come back, and then we're going to rotate around. When we're doing this, we're focusing primarily on the joint of the ankle from the leg bone into. So first and foremost, you can take your hand behind if you need to. Take your hand behind the knee. Okay, this holds you in place. And I want you to think about flexing those toes towards you. Okay, holding that for 4 seconds and then extending and trying to get this as straight as possible. Now, when you do this, you may get a cramp in the bottom of your foot or in the calf. Just means you're probably a little bit tight in both. So holding 4, rotating, switching between this 4 times through. So flexing and extending 4 times through, holding each at the end of that range. Again, trying to pull as much as possible, but holding it for 4 seconds. A really good one that you can do on your own, especially, well, if you tie to something, you take a belt or some sort of something that has loop, pulling it towards you, and then the opposite where it's actually, instead of you're pulling it towards you, but you're pushing away. And then if it's wrapped the opposite way, it's pulling away from you and you're pushing towards you. So keep doing this on the one leg, again, 4 times through. And then when we're done with that 4th one, I want you to think about making large circles to the left side. So we're doing counterclockwise first, as big as possible. And we'll do this for the next 30 seconds to the same way. So both right now, we're just doing counter. When you do, anytime we're doing anything with joints, when you do feel that sticking point, don't try to rush through it. Actually spend a little bit more time trying to get through, because it may mean something is stuck or something is a bit tight. 10 more seconds doing this, and then we'll go to clockwise. All right, rotate to the opposite way. So now going clockwise. And really try to lead with the ankle versus trying to lead with the toes. And making that circle as big as possible. Anyone else got some cracking going on? Got 15 more seconds here. All right, and let's switch to the other side. So first and foremost, we'll start with those 4 flexion and extension. So making that foot as long as possible and then short as possible, pulling in, holding the end range for 4 seconds each, 4 times through, there and back. All right, and then we'll start with counterclockwise again. So trying to get full range, so making as large of a circle with that ankle joint as possible. We'll do 30 seconds counterclockwise, and then we'll move to clockwise. And again, trying to get the ankle to move. So pointing with the ball and heel of the foot, making that versus toes. It's really hard. Ten more seconds. All right, and now switch to clockwise or the opposite way. 15 more seconds. All right. Now we're going to go to the knee joint. Okay, so go back to the first side that we started with. Okay, so for this one, again, we're looking at rotating. So the knee goes two ways. Okay, but we can flex it from side to side, but we have to hold it tight. So first, I want you to think about bringing it. Let me look at from here. Okay, it's small movements, but I'm trying to rotate my heel. Okay, to the left and to the right. Okay. So we're going to go left and right, but trying to keep that knee joint. You can do that by bringing your hands underneath, keeping it steady, moving it side to side. Doing that for 30 seconds. All right, switch to the opposite side. Again, trying to stabilize the hip as much as possible and moving the ankle side to side so then it moves the knee just small little amounts. All right. Okay, we're gonna move to the hips now. So for hips, we are gonna do our standing cars. Okay. So remember our standing cars, you have a hip joint. Okay. If you have something to stand next to, much better. But our goal is when we're doing this, okay, is to have our hips stay static forward. That's the biggest thing. We never want to try to twist. That's why having something that we can hold on to. When we're doing this movement, though, we want to keep that tension. We're going to lift that knee up first. Okay, so again, it's coming from that hip. Okay, we're going to lift the knee up. Then we're going to bring it out to the side. Okay, again, we're opening it as much as possible. Find that end range. When you're done with that, I want you to think about rotating that hip down, bringing that knee and ankle up to the same. Then we bring it to the back. Okay. We bring that knee back down and we come back the same way. So we bring that knee back, heel and knee stay in line. Hip is down or internally rotated. Then we externally rotate that hip. Okay. We open it up. We bring it in front of us and then we bring it back down. Okay. So that is one rotation. We're going to go through 6 on each side, but the goal is to go slow and controlled for this one. I'm actually going to just move so I can stand and hold something. But the goal is to keep tension in that hip the entire time. Keeping those hips forward. And then not rushing through, especially when we get to this. So it's from this external rotation here to then internal rotation where we want that heel to be in line with that knee. The goal would actually to be up. I can't do it without pushing my hip up. So again, hips stay static and trying to keep them in one line. And again, when you get to that point where it's a sticking point, hold it and try to move through it slowly, not fast. This is a movement that should actually make you feel like you're sweating because you have tension throughout the entire movement. You're keeping tension in your body, in those muscles. So Esther, I want you to go a little bit slower when you're coming back. There you go. Good. And so 4 on each side. Again, if you're already done with the 4th one and you're fast, do a couple more on each side while the rest of us get through. So a lot of us struggle with that internal rotation, which would be here, bringing that heel back, get a lot of tightness into that glute and into that hip flexor, that psoas on the outside, while also keeping your tailbone tucked under and controlling. So anytime we're doing anything mobility wise and we say range of motion, or even in movement, you'll hear us say range of motion in class, we want you to get full range of motion. Full range of motion means not necessarily just the depth, but we're trying to get, in this one, full range would be the access of the joint from beginning to end. So that beginning to end could be a rotation of a ball and socket. It could be a rotation of coming in and out. So if this is full flexion, I can actually bring my heel all the way to my butt and then all the way out. So again, that would be full flexion here, range of motion, all of that. Okay, we should be done with both of the hips. Now we're going to do our standing cars of our shoulders. Okay, so very similar to what we did. We have a rotation of our shoulders. The goal is to bring, keeping a fist the entire time. So as we're coming forward, okay, I want you to think rotating that shoulder inward. We're coming all the way up. Okay, and then when we get to that point, we want to open up the armpit and we rotate the elbow out, not just the wrist, because we can rotate the wrist without the elbow moving. Rotating that elbow, opening up that shoulder joint, trying to get that wrist to point down all the way behind, keeping that shoulder down. Getting as far behind as possible. And then coming back, and then coming back the same way that we came. Again, opening that shoulder up until we get to the almost to the top of the position. Then we rotate it in, come around, and then end. So let's do 4 of those on each side. Think about holding a fist the entire time so you have that tension. The goal would be you rotate that shoulder from internal rotation to external rotation at the same place every single time. Most of us are good. Lando! Most of us are good here. It's when we open up and we come back. We have some restrictions up in the scaps, the lats. Good. I always like to use, you can use your hand as 2 points. One on the top of your shoulder, kind of like what Esther's doing. Keep your shoulder blade down so you're not pulling up. Okay, another one is pulling down from underneath your arm. Both are really good. It also keeps your shoulder forward, so you're actually only moving the shoulder joint versus moving the chest side to side. Good. 4 of these total. Hey Max. Get all the doggies and Charmaine's cats in the picture. Oh, Hannah, you can put your plants. There you go. Okay, so we got 4 of those. Okay, next one we're going to do is wrists. Okay, so very similar to what we did with the ankles. Okay, first and foremost, we're going to go flexion, okay, and then extension. So we're going to come forward and back, and I want you to hold each of those at the end range for 4 seconds. So 4 on each side, but again, flexing as much as we can. You can keep your hand open or you can close it, whichever one. But the goal is to get as much flexion into the front of the forearm as possible, and then extending back. And then we'll go into rotation after that. So trying to push for that end range every single time. Now there are, so very similar to what I said with the feet, you can use a band. What's nice about something like this is we're using our own body weight versus actually using resistance towards something else. Once you have 4 on each side, we're going to rotate that wrist into circles, but I do want you to keep a fist for this one. Okay, so rotating around, we'll do clockwise for 30 seconds, and then we'll go counterclockwise. Another 10 seconds. All right, and switch the opposite way. So if you're going counter, go clockwise. If you're going clockwise, go counter. Good, 10 more seconds. All right, let's switch to the other one. So again, first flexion, extension, we'll do that 4 times through, holding at the bottom position 4 seconds. Don't lick that. All right, and then rotation, so counterclockwise 30 seconds. Yep. Trying to make as big as possible, opening that palm up as we come into that extended position, and then rotating around when we come into that flexion. Ten more seconds here, and then we'll go the opposite way. All right, and switch ways. And try not to rotate that elbow. It's just the wrist that's doing the work. Have you guys done, I remember last time I was on, but have you done any toes with Liz lately? So sitting on them. Are you getting better with it? No. Okay. Okay. All right. We are going to do some pails and rails for our shoulders. So in getting set up, you'll just need to lay on the ground. So we'll lay on our side. If you have a yoga block, great. If you don't worry about it. The only reason I want some sort of yoga block is so when we're seated into this, or we're laying into this position, we can put our head on something. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a yoga block, but it could be something hard, or a pillow that you can put your head on. Okay, so first we'll start with whatever side you want to, whatever side you're on. Okay, the goal of this, okay, is to simply put your head on. Now we're trying to get our shoulders in line. Okay, shoulders away from the ears. I want you to think about bringing this hand out straight. Okay, so the elbow is in line with the shoulder. Okay, and the shoulder is over the shoulder. So this is the first movement that I want us to do. With your feet, bring those to a 90 degrees. That's quite comfortable. The other thing I want you to think about is the space here. Okay, don't collapse down. Try to keep it tight. Okay, so again, this is all in line. Your spine is in one line versus being down. Okay, from here, again, the head is resting, bringing that yoga block all the way into the shoulder and then bringing that head down. Okay, from here, we're going to first press into the hand. So our goal is to get as much internal rotation of our shoulder as possible. Okay, so what we're doing is we're actually pressing our hand down and then pulling our opposite hand. We're pressing down. The hand that is active, we're pulling up. So our goal is to get as low as possible, but pressing. So we'll hold each layer for 10 seconds, and then we'll try to get that range of motion a little bit more. So let's go ahead and start the first one. So again, when we're doing this, Charmaine, I want you to think about getting that shoulder over your opposite shoulder. Okay, and then elbow out. And when we're pressing down, okay, making sure that shoulder's not squeezing, it's not coming up close to our shoulders. We want shoulder and head away, bringing that shoulder block in. So you're thinking about pulling your head away from your shoulder as we're doing this. And let's start. So you're pressing that opposite hand down while you're pulling that active hand in. So hold it in the same position for 10 seconds. And now press a little bit farther down by pulling in, trying to get a little bit more. And pressing down a little bit more, pulling in. Now, a lot of times on this movement, we want to overcompensate that internal rotation, okay, by bringing our elbow in, okay, versus having our elbow in line with the shoulder. So what I mean by that is as we're pressing, we start coming here, coming here, coming here, which allows us to press down a little bit farther. I want that in line, okay. Keep pressing down on that wrist bone versus that hand. So we get a little bit more of that internal rotation of that shoulder. And press down one more time, hold that for 10 seconds. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Do the same thing. So we're going to press down, focusing on our pails first. Sorry. Okay, again, getting those shoulders above each other down, bringing that hand out. Okay, and then shoulder and elbow in line, pulling that yoga block as close to your head so it pushes your shoulder away. And then knees and hips in a 90-degree move down. Okay, we'll start, this side. We'll start by pressing the opposite hand into the active hand, and then we're pulling that hand down. Hold up for 10. Let's see what's going on here. Hannah, bring your elbow closer to your body, close to your head. No, opposite way. There we go. Good. We want that elbow in line with the shoulder versus closer to the inside of your chest. There we go. Good. Yep, that one. Yep. And then at a 90 degrees. So elbow is 90 degree. There you go. Good. Yeah, it's much better. Okay, now that opposite hand, press into the top of your hand. Yep. So you're pressing that down, and then you're pulling your active hand towards your other hand. That would be your right hand. Yep. Charmaine, I want you to get your shoulders stacked on top of each other. So right now your right shoulder is behind. There we go. Good. Okay. And then move your elbow up toward your face a little bit more on your left. Yep. There you go. Good. Good. Again, press a little bit farther down and hold that. So we're pushing to try to get the end range, whatever we have today. So we do that by holding and then pressing a little bit more. So you have to actively press in with enough resistance. And press a little bit more. And press a little bit more. And press a little bit more. Try to get a little bit more end range. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to lay flat onto our ground, lay flat onto the ground. You'll need enough space where you can actually bring your hands out far. So what we're going to start first is bringing the hands. Okay, head is going to be down. We're going to bring the hand and the palms behind our back, and then we're going to flip. We're going to flare up our elbows. From here, I'm going to try to keep I'm going to try to keep my hands as up as I can, and then when I get to about a T position, my shoulders are going to have to rotate in. As I come forward, I'm still trying to keep them off the ground as much as possible, head down. And then when I get to the front, again, here, touching my thumbs together, and then coming back. Very similar to the cars that we were doing in a standing position, but the plane has changed. So instead of going in a forward plane, right, we're going in a frontal plane, which is around our body. Okay. So again, you'll need enough space to be able to move. You'll need enough space again to bring your hands all the way out to your side, keeping them as tall as possible, head down to the ground. Okay, and then want that core tight as well. So start with palms behind, then we flare those elbows up, and our goal is to keep those shoulders and hands as far away from the ground as possible. When we get to that T position, rotate those shoulders inward, come overhead, keep those arms straight, reach in front of us as far up as we can, and then coming back into that T position, rotating those shoulders up, 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 up. Touching the small of the back, release those elbows down, and then go again. Oh. Esther, I want you to go a little bit slower, and I want you to think about getting those shoulders away from your ears before we start. Yes, there we go. Good. Then when we get to that T part, keep those palms down, keep those palms down, keep those palms down. Now rotate them up. There we go. Good, nice. Lando wants to play, Sherry. Good, Charmaine. I want you, when you're coming into that T position, keep those palms up as long as you can. When we're coming here, then rotate. So our goal is to try to stretch those palms up as long as we can before we bring those shoulders back. So we're coming in, palms up, palms up, palms up, palms up, palms up. And then now, yes, good. So that's your sticking point. When you get to that sticking point where you're almost in a V position, I want you to hold it a little bit longer. Nice, Esther. Good. Then when we're coming back, keep those palms up, palms up, palms up, palms up, palms up, as long as we can. Now go into, there we go. Good. So 2 things. When we're going upward from our back, keep those palms up as long as we can. Okay. And then when we get into this front position and we're coming back, try to keep those palms down as long as we can. Then rotate those palms up and coming around. Keep going. Again, keep tension the entire time. There we go. Good. Nice, ladies. All right. And then we're gonna end. We got 2 minutes left. We are ending with toes tucked under. Okay, so we got a 2-minute tuck. Okay, so if you got a dog, they're gonna lick. Great. Okay, so we're basically tucking all of those toes under. We're putting the weight on the back of the heels. Knees down. If the knees down hurt, we change the elevation by putting a yoga block in front, so we have less pressure on the front. So the more decline you have, the greater the stretch you're going to feel on those extremities or your toes. We got 1.5 minutes left. Let's hold. Does Max like to lick your feet? Yes. Charmaine, do your cats lick your feet? No. Okay, good. So goal of this is try to bend all of those toes down. So not all the pressure is on your front, your big toe. You should feel it in those pinky toes as well. Now, if this feels comfortable, again, the more you lean back, the more pressure you put onto those toes. If this is too much, you can always lift those knees up by putting a towel, a yoga block, taking the pressure of pressing the toes down. We got less than 1 minute left. If you want more after this, stand up after the 2 minutes or hold it for another 2